Hey, I get it, standing in the garage with a half-finished metal project and wondering whether you should drop a few $100 on a portable welder that promises industrial-grade results can feel like a gamble. I've been there, scrolling through endless specs, watching YouTube demos, and trying to separate the hype from the tools that actually make a difference when you're hammering sheet metal or trying to touch up a rusted fence. Before you decide whether the VBSNKLOI Cut 120 portable inverter welder and plasma cutting machine is worth the investment, let's walk through what matters in real life, not just on paper. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the category itself, portable inverter welders with an integrated plasma cutter, is a niche that tries to serve two very different tasks with one box. Welding demands steady amperage, a smooth arc, and enough power to melt thicker gauge metals, while plasma cutting needs a high-velocity jet of ionized gas to slice through steel cleanly. Most hobby-level units either compromise on one side or require you to buy separate accessories. The Cut 120 claims to tackle both, and that's a big promise. The key question is whether the compromise hurts you in everyday use, or whether the convenience outweighs any loss of specialization. If you're a small shop owner, a serious DIYer, or someone who frequently moves between job sites, the portability factor is the first thing you'll notice. The machine packs a decent amount of copper and stainless steel in its housing, which helps keep the weight manageable, still heavy enough that you'll need a cart or a sturdy workbench, but you can load it into the back of a van without a crane. That means you can set up in a rented space, a community workshop, or even a backyard without needing a permanent power supply. The inverter technology lets you run the unit off a standard 110V outlet, which is a relief when you're not near three-phase service. In my own experience, plugging it into a typical garage outlet and getting a stable arc took just a minute or two, thanks to the advanced technology the manufacturer touts for smooth operation. Now, let's talk about cutting. The plasma side of the Cut 120 is engineered for precision. When I ran a quick test on 12-gauge mild steel, the cut was clean enough that I didn't have to grind down the edge afterward. The adjustable settings let you dial in the torch height and amperage, which is handy if you're moving from thin sheet metal to a thicker structural beam. The real advantage shows up when you're working on a project that needs both welding and cutting in quick succession, say, repairing a broken metal gate. You can weld the broken piece, flip the torch to plasma mode, and trim the excess in the same setup. That saves you the hassle of swapping tools or hauling a second machine to the site. On the flip side, there are practical limits you need to keep in mind. The cutter, while precise on thin to medium gauge steel, starts to struggle once you get above inch thickness. The arc becomes less stable, and you'll notice a slower feed rate, which translates to longer cut times and a bit more heat distortion on the material. If your work routinely involves cutting thick plate or stainless steel for structural components, you might find yourself reaching for a dedicated plasma cutter with higher duty cycles. Also, because the unit combines welding and cutting, the duty cycle for each function is lower than a single-purpose machine. You can't run it non-stop for an hour. The manual suggests a 30-minute continuous use followed by a cool-down period. For hobbyists doing occasional repairs, that's fine, but a production shop looking for 8-hour shifts will feel the constraint. Who should buy this? If you're someone who values flexibility over raw power, the Cut 120 makes sense. Think of a small business owner who builds custom metal furniture, a farmer who needs to fix equipment on the fly, or a contractor who does occasional metalwork on residential projects. The ability to weld, cut, and move the whole rig in a single trip can save you both time and money on equipment rentals. It also shines for educational settings, trade schools or community makerspaces where students need exposure to both welding and plasma cutting without the budget for two separate stations. Who should skip it? If your workflow revolves around heavy-duty, high-throughput tasks like fabricating large steel frames, cutting thick structural steel, or running a shop that needs to meet tight production deadlines, you'll likely hit the duty cycle ceiling quickly and may need more power than a portable inverter can reliably deliver. In that case, investing in a dedicated MIG/TIG welder and a separate high-amperage plasma cutter will give you better performance and less wear on any single piece of equipment. Also, if you're looking for ultra-fine detail cutting, such as intricate art pieces or thin sheet metal jewelry, a CNC plasma cutter or a laser might be a more appropriate tool. A practical strength that stands out is the user-friendly control panel. The knobs and digital readout are intuitive enough that you don't have to